Now, say my name.
The Rolling Bad Podcast.
You're goddamn right.
Welcome to the Rolling Bad Podcast, episode number 11, coming to you from the desolate wasteland of Albuquerque, New Mexico. We're recording on November 1st, and I am your host, Elric Edge. With me tonight are
Bill Costello
and James Tapia.
In tonight's episode, we're going to discuss our normal topics regarding what GW's been coming out with, as well as what we've been up to in the hobby and what we've been gaming with lately. And we're also going to discuss the latest news, if you will, with ITC and how it relates to Age of Sigmar and kind of what our initial impressions are and what have you. So let's do a show.
Okay, let's get it on.
The Realm of the New Dawn, where we're going to talk about all the new things that Games Workshop has come out with and has announced they're coming out with. I'm going to start with that fancy new white dwarf you're holding there, Bill.
Well, yeah, I think we should, because I keep saying, and I know I said it last time we recorded, that I thought there was going to be a downturn in the white dwarfs, and they really do just keep getting better. I mean, this one, not only are they announcing a lot of cool products we're going to get to in a second here, but there's a little something for everybody in this one. As long as they keep going like this, I'm going to keep my subscription going, even if they can't manage to get it to me within the same month. So, because they seem to be having problems. GW, if you're listening, you can actually ship magazines out so that they get to the people on the release date. It's doable, trust me.
Yeah, well, might be a lot of moving parts there.
Yeah, I'm sure there is. Especially when they have to go through shipping to the United States and all that. But it's still annoying that I go to the game store on Saturday and I buy the issue because I want to read it. I don't want to wait till next Friday to read it. So
when your personal one comes
when my subscription comes in.
Okay.
So
I'm subscribed through the store.
Yeah.
And I unfortunately still have not had a chance to sit down and read through even the first copy. So one thing that I noticed with the White Dwarfs when they were the monthly beforehand, and especially with the weeklies, was that they tended to be, this is a 40K edition, this is a fantasy edition, and then in November it was like the one the one Lord of the Rings edition for the year. That was their one nod to the people who were hanging on to that game. Now, I think that's also a reflection of their release schedule back then, too. It was much slower than it is now. So what is it like now? Does it feel like there's an even spread? There's a thing of interest for not just a tidbit of interest, because they would do that before. They would be like, well, this is Codex Space Marines came out, so 96% of this White Dwarf is Space Marines, but here's a really well-painted Bretonnian Lord stuffed in the back. How'd you like that? Kind of thing. Does this feel like there's a pretty even spread of content to appeal to everyone who plays any one of their games?
Yes, it actually does, because, I mean, this one is all about the Burning of Prospero, so it's 40K/30K. It's definitely where it's focused. But they're still carrying through with the articles on the Tale of Four Painters, they're still that's in here. The battle report from this week is Knights of Azir against the Horde of Destruction. So even the battle report is Sigmar. So yeah, there's something for everyone in here. I didn't feel like it excluded anybody. And of course the modeling and the sprues and glue, the paint splatter, 100 times better than they used to be. If you listen to Heel and Hammer, they talk about how in the pictures, they even show you, it's one thing to say what the consistency of the paint should look like. In this one, they have a picture of what the paint looks like just before they're putting it on the model.
Oh, nice. Instead of that skim milk.
Yeah, instead of some sort of weird description. And even like when Duncan does his videos, he's like, use a little bit of water, and you really don't see how much he's thinning it down.
Yeah. If anybody is listening, maybe get a better view or better lighting.
Yeah, just a slightly
when he's
better.
Mixing the paint, because it is kind of hard to understand the consistency sometimes that he's talking about.
Yeah, 2 cameras would be nice. A little close up of the. But anyway, it's a great episode. Great issue. But
is it filled with a lot of like reoccurring article type things?
not a lot of series stuff. I mean, they have the Tale of Four painters, the Tale of Four warlords now, who are building up their thing. That's really the only serialized thing I think I saw. So
Okay.
that's
Oh,
the
and
only,
then the paint splatter and
the paint
hobby
splatters
stuff.
are going. You can see where they're moving on from skill to skill to skill.
Oh, okay,
so
cool.
you're going to get, over time, you're going to build up your ability if you follow through with them. So it's really kick butt. They're doing great stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, I thought so. So anyway, to jump into the actual new stuff for New Dawn, they released a whole bunch of new things for 40K and for Sigmar in this November issue. And the first one is the Artificer Tint set. I don't know if you saw that one.
I've heard something about it.
Yeah, I think that looks really cool. And it's something I think they've wanted to do for some time, or they've needed to do for some time, because a lot of other ranges have these tints. The Vallejo stuff, they have the tints and all that stuff. And it's something that's been kind of missing from the Games Workshop stuff. Now, I listened to Heel and Hammer this morning, and they were talking about using them as glazes and washes. And
Yeah, that was gonna be my thing. So
I don't
is
think
it's
that's
not
what
so it's different than a wash. Are you supposed to add it to the model, or are you supposed to add it to the paint?
No, you add it to the paint to change the color of the paint. And if you look at the paint set itself, and they even have it in this November issue on page 132, they have a paint splatter extra where they show you how to get different tints of a color, how to either reinforce a color to make it more vibrant. Basically what you're doing is you're changing the hue and the value of the paint without changing the color.
Okay.
So it's kind of interesting the way it's going to, and it comes in those very small pots, like are in those demo sets that they have. It's not the big pots. So a little goes a long, long way. A drop of this stuff is going to significantly change the color of a paint before you put it on the model. So I'm looking forward to that. I think you'll end up seeing a lot more variation on just standard color themes that everybody does.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. I mean, it depends on how you're painting too. If you're just using out the GW color system, going from one layer, from one of your base color, your layer page up, or I know a lot of painters like me, I usually blend my colors, or not blend them, but I mix them. One part this, one part that one, especially when I'm going up in layers.
Yeah. Do you think it's maybe intended to help people learn how to blend?
Oh yeah. It's going to be a big boon for that, because if you look at some of the other videos on painting that aren't GWs, especially like the hot lead videos, but he does a really long dissertation on blending and how you have a palette and you put 3 drops over here, 2 drops here, 1 drop here, and then use your other color to mix in with that. Well, with these tints, you're not even going to have to go that much in depth. You're just going to go, here's my base color. I'm going to add 1 drop of this, then I'm going to add 2 drops of this, then a 3rd drop, and now I've completely blended the whole thing. And it's going to make it easier, I think, to approach for, what was it I heard the other day? If James is the French chef of painting, I'm the Big Mac of painting. And yeah, well, it was on one of the podcasts. It's like, somebody said, you're the French chef and I'm the Big Mac. Well, I'm the Big Mac in this group, and but it's going to allow me to step it up a little bit more towards like what you do. So,
Oh, Bill, don't be that hard on Big Mac.
No, I love Big Macs, man. Quarter pounder with cheese, hamburger royal mitquesa for you guys over there, but So I think it's going to be a great tool for everybody, not just the super advanced guys, but it's going to help the little people like me. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I like them.
Yeah, I'll be looking forward to Duncan's video on those to see how
he
uses them. Because I mean, when he did the Gash video, the way he used to blend with the washes to get your color transitions, I don't think a lot of people had used them in that way before necessarily. So I was even hearing like people like Steve Rannon be like, "Oh, I never thought to use washes like that to blend up a cloak and get some really nice transitions." So I'll be interested to see how GW is intending you to use these.
Yeah, I'll bet you that's not going to be a 5-minute video though. It's going to be a 2-minute video. It's going to be longer. So
yeah, that's the one thing I do kind of miss lately.
Oh, the longer videos.
The longer videos.
He did one that was
he did
a good 20 minutes on Oh, the Adeptus Custodes.
Yeah, the new
yeah,
GW. The new
Yeah.
4K stuff.
And I have to say that that video was like 18 minutes long, and I still felt lost because the model just has such an insane amount of detail, and he still kind of glosses over it quickly. Maybe that one could have been a little longer.
Yeah,
but they are doing the Sisters of Silence is a 5-part series on how to paint each like individual part of it, which is really cool.
That's a good thing. So next up on the new table is, and we've seen this before, but they're going to release the Battle Mat Corn. And that one looks pretty cool. I know you like this one.
Yeah, I like it because, like I was saying when we first talked about these, there's a lot of other companies now that produce gaming mats of various quality, and I know the big one is the Frontline guys of the Fat Mat. I was saying that Fat Mat can make the more neutral-ish, universal mats, like your grassy plains and frozen tundras and cities and stuff like that, and it allows Games Workshop to make these crazy
specialized
crank it to 11 hyper fantasy mats that you wouldn't use in any other game probably, but it fits in Age of Sigmar for sure. And like I was telling off the air earlier, for doing like demo games, that's definitely something that would catch people's attention, and they'd want to know what that's all about. So
I still wonder about why the 4x4, but I guess, like you said, they're testing the waters.
Yeah, it might be time to move up to the 6x4s.
Yeah, I think I don't know if they can get the price point where they want it, because these 4x4s are the same price as a Fat Mat 6x4. So I'm wondering if they're having an issue with a little less, but not by much.
Right.
So I'm wondering if they're having an issue with getting the price point to where they want it.
Possibly.
Next up is the thing I want more than anything in the whole wide world, is the Citadel Repair Tool. Stop laughing.
To go with your combat gauge?
Yes. What it is it's a mold line scraper, a file, and connected to it is a enclosed metal tube to put one of those very small super glue tubes into. So you can have basically a repair kit, and looks like it will hang from the lanyard that you have around your neck with your combat gauge on it. So as an Age of Sigmar player, if you have your rangefinder, your combat tool with lanyard around your neck, and now your repair kit, you're ready for anything.
Okay, so I know most people's initial reaction will be to say this thing is ridiculous. That being said, how many times have you busted a model? Well, Bill, you don't play games. James, how often have you? How often have you like busted something?
Every week, when I go play 40K.
But like at a tournament, it happens.
It happens. Something.
And at a tournament, at an event, like at a big event, it can be hard to carry your additional stuff around with you. So if you have something like this, it's really easy to get a hold of. You can put something back together real quick.
Right. And I laugh, and I kind of did that sarcastically, but I am going to get one, and it is going to be what it's used for. Now, we talked earlier, James, what's the point of having a mold line remover for repairing models at a game?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I was looking at, I think I could find the file useful for filing down the glue or spot or something. I think they said so you have something for the glue to attach to. Maybe they figured we're already doing a file, so it's just the mold line removal thing on there. But
yeah, I think might have gone better with, I don't know, something else. A mold line remover to me on a repair tool is.
Yeah, I mean, because I've used the GW one, and I actually have one.
I love it.
I do remove mold lines.
Look at you removing those mold lines.
If I ever do. I've used it, and it's actually pretty good.
Yeah, it's very good.
It's better than a razor blade, because most of the time I end up
an X-Acto knife,
chopping into the model and moving half of it off. But
yeah. I remember when I first started getting into the hobby, all my Space Marines had a little bit of battle damage. Whoops.
It's true for all of us.
So is this a bottle opener at the base of it?
I swear to God, I think I think they did that as a nod, and they didn't say anything about it, but it damn sure looks like a beer
If
opener.
it's a bottle opener, then this might be the most useful tool
that is the ultimate
ever made.
That's stocking stuffers for everyone I know. So,
all right, well, just when I think you couldn't do what's the line? Just when I think you couldn't be any more stupid, you go and do something and completely redeem yourself.
Yay! Okay, so. Okay, well, of course.
You skip past the Planetary Onslaught book for 40K.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Just say there's a lot of releases.
Yeah, there's a big time bunch of releases. For 40K, of course, Prospero came out. Burning of Prospero came out. I'm not going to cover that because that's super 30K, but wow, is that thing awesome.
How hot are those Adeptus Custode models?
Oh my god. It's just, that whole release is superior.
Yeah.
So
I'm excited about the potential of them being their own faction, even if it's just in 30K, because did you see the Legio Custode hover tank that Forge World is coming out with? I can tell you right now,
sick.
If Adeptus Custode are their own faction, I could be in trouble.
Yeah, that could be the thing that brings you back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Slot them in with my Imperial Fists. Oh, yeah.
So the Planetary Onslaught book, it's kind of I'm not sure how to take this one, because what they're doing is they're combining Planet Strike, Cities of Death, and Stronghold Assault into one handy tome.
I think they're updating the rules potentially, because I think those are all 6th edition.
Yeah,
books.
well,
maybe, I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't think anything's come out. It's been here and there, but it could use an update, and I don't know. Usually when I see, in one handy tome, it means to me they're just reprinting it in one book.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
But it makes it easier to get to, and those are cool missions and stuff to play to add some serious flavor to your games.
Oh, it's the truth. Also for 40K, they're coming out with the Hemotrope reactors, which on the face of it are incredibly disgusting because they're fueled by the blood of martyrs mixed with volatile promethium. Yeah. But they are super cool looking. And if you have the Promethean pipe set, it looks like they kind of go together a little bit.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it's all things.
Yeah, but they're just gorgeous scenery, and they'll definitely...
Going green in the 41st millennium?
Yeah. Oh, boy. Yeah.
Jeez.
Then in the Blast from the Past department, they're bringing back the Mage Wrath Throne and Balewind Vortex kits.
Yay, because that's what we need is more Balewind Vortexes.
And
I think so.
Such cheese. Yes. I mean, totally accurate.
Calling it right now, what's going to happen is they re-release this model. They're going to sell a bucket of them, and then they're going to totally nerf the way they work.
Or just say they're not legal for match play.
Yep. They don't have a point value, therefore you can't play them. Boom.
Them. Yeah.
Mic drop. Thanks for your lunch money, nerds.
And can we say, gotcha.
Yep. They've done it before. They did it with Demons when they released little bits in White Dwarf, and they were
the Warriors with the Blood Crushers. They were like that before.
Yeah.
They were nuts.
And then the Flamers and Screamers in 8th edition, I think it was, or 40K or whatever. There was like a 3 or 4 month period before the Codex came out, and it was just like, holy cow, these things are ridiculous. What else we got?
Well, also they're coming out with, and this seems to me to have a little more wide-ranging appeal, but it's a Sigmar base set for Warhammer 40,000 and Warhammer Age of Sigmar hero bases, and they look to me freaking amazing. It's when you look at some of the basing that some of the top tier painters do, where they always have some kind of great base theme that they've put together. That's what they're giving you in plastic. Now obviously everybody in the world is going to have these, but it's going to allow the casual modeler guy to put something together that will differentiate one or two of his models to make it, to make them stand out that much more. I think that's a great idea. I love those sets. They're just gorgeous. There's one with the 3 steps. There's one with a column, so you can have your guy leaning against a column. I always wanted to do Dante, just sort of kicking back, leaning against a column with a cigarette.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just a thought. So.
The Age of Sigmar one has 3 32mm bases, 7 40mm bases, and 1 90mm oval base.
Yeah.
So that's cool. So it'll allow you could do your Celestin on a Dracoth, or I'm trying to think of other things that come on a night. Drycha,
yeah.
You know, or something, you know.
Yeah, Lord Celestin on the Dracoth. He's going to look great on that.
Some of those look really good.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I wonder, they look like something put on top of a regular base.
I don't think they're base toppers, actually. I think they're molded onto the base.
I'm
not
one
sure.
single
I haven't
cast.
seen them. Huh?
Like,
That's what I think. I don't know that. Don't.
Now, I wonder, because the Shattered Dominion bases, they painted them to look really good, but if you look at the mold quality, it uses the terrain plastic, which is not...
Yeah, it's the Chinese plastic, and I'm sure that's what these are, too. They're not going to be that super detailed.
That kind of sucks.
But
I mean, they still look good, though, for sure.
It's when you come right down to it, when you got the paint on it, and you've done the effects, I don't think you can really tell about the lack of detail. And the other thing, too, is, and I don't know, James, what you think about this, but you don't want your bases to take away from the model that you painted. You want the base to be there to accentuate it. So it's not like you're going to just do this amazing, super detailed base and then put, a 3-color minimum fig on top. So, I don't know.
Yeah, bases are what can really help put your model over the top, though.
Yes.
I wonder if people use these stock bases like this, if paint judges and stuff are going to use that against them. If somebody will look at it and be like, oh, they didn't actually really put any work into it. They just used a pre-made base and just painted it. That being said, there's
been
really,
resin bases.
Yeah, there's really nice resin bases.
The whole thing is you can tell generally if it's a secret weapons base or if it's what's the other guy's, Cromlecker. You can kind of tell what their styles are. So are you going to mark somebody down for using a secret weapon base?
I mean, because I did when we went to the one in Colorado.
Lost Souls?
Not Lost Souls, the other one.
Oh,
Feast of Blades. When I went up there with my Dark Elves, those were all on the cheap Chinese lava bases that were pretty much all the same. Got best painted with that. I mean, it still didn't count against me.
Oh,
really.
Okay.
Well, and I think it just comes back down to a discriminator again, because if I have an army that's sitting right next to James's army, and the only thing this will never happen, but the only thing that separates them is the basings, it gives the judge the ability to go, well, you know what? James custom made all of his bases, so we're going to give him the nod for that because these are the standard GW bases. So it's just something you can add to your thought process, but I wouldn't take it away from anybody.
No, because you still got to put effort into painting them, painting all the little details. I mean, it's going to be the same as a miniature. You can paint those bases 3-color minimum with a wash and a quick dry brush, or you can sit there blending the layers and getting everything in. So...
Yeah, so I mean, it's going to come back to you'll use it as a discriminator more than anything, I think. So does anybody else have any new stuff? Oh, I know. I'm sorry. I'm like dominating this segment, and I apologize. But I wanted to talk about a tool. Shut up.
You've been wanting to talk about this for like 2 months now.
I have. But I didn't want to say anything until I'd used it, and since this is my first game in 2 months, no.
Yeah.
No, really. I picked up these measuring sticks. These are from Corsec Engineering, and I'll put their website in the show notes. But it's Corsec, C-O-R-S-E-C, Engineering. And what these things are is 1-inch segment little threaded rods that you can thread together, and you buy them in 1-inch segments. And you can buy as many as you want.
Yeah. And
so you can have range rulers for every one of the standard ranges that you have. Like when we played Saturday, I was using 1 5-inch, 1 8-inch, and 1 3-inch one of these, and I had all my movement covered, other than when I ran, and wanted to die. Yeah. They're super handy. They're like super cheap. You can pick up 15 or 20 of them. They're under $1 a piece, so you can pick up a whole bunch of them, and they're all in different colors so that you can see. And I measured it when I got it to make sure it was 1 inch, and there weren't manufacturing issues, and each one of them came out to be 1 inch. Very cool tool, very handy thing.
Yeah.
So
I'm probably gonna pick up some of those for my Sylvaneth, especially when you have to be 9 inches away when you pop out of those woods. So
and that was the other thing too. I was thinking of is I got enough to make a 9-inch segment also, so that when I summon people with the Seraphon, I'll know if I can bring them in. So.
Well, one of the handy ones will be just the 3 inches.
Yeah.
So you know that you're not within the combat range.
And I have my combat gauge for, the 1 inch and the 2 inch reach. So.
Yeah, you do.
And you actually forced me to use it. So.
I did. What'd you think about the dwarves for The Hobbit from Forge World? God. Right?
Oh, my. Almost makes me want to play that game again.
Oh, man, those look good. And the fact that they are actually affordable as a Forge World army is just bizarre. I never thought I would say that.
And what's going on with that?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
What did I tell you? It was like $4 and... Yeah, it was like, about $4.50 a model for the infantry, which is pretty respectable. Yeah. Now, if only there was a way to work in a dwarf with a spear and a shield in Age of Sigmar. Because I would have a whole army.
Yeah, I tell you, those things are... And I tell you, it's a strange thing to see them pushing the Hobbit like this with Forge World behind it. It's crazy.
This might be the thing that does it, though. It's just...
Yeah.
Well, they've always had such great models, though. The Perry brothers always made such beautiful models for that line.
Yeah.
I don't know what keeps it back from being a real contender.
Yeah,
Cost. I think it's cost. When the Lord of the Rings game first came out, it was super affordable to get into.
Right, with the box sets, and then it went...
Yeah, and then all of a sudden...
Nuts.
Yeah. Maybe that's... I don't know.
I mean, I picked up a box of... I think I picked up the 3 Ogre or 3 Troll box for $100. And I was just flabbergasted at what you didn't get for $100.
Also, if anybody is interested, there is the Man of War game for the computer, and the developers behind that said that they are working to make a console crossover for the game. So I'm really excited about that. There has been a deluge of crossovers from all the PC games that they've been doing, and I think they've all been really successful. With Blood Bowl already has a second version. The Vermintide, Mordheim, Space Hulk, and now hopefully Man of War won't be too far behind. It looks really cool. It's a cool looking game.
Yeah, the original one was fun.
The tabletop
game was a blast.
And I think what's really important about this, if you're interested in the specialist games, seeing these video games do well, I think may send a very clear message to Games Workshop that these games are still really popular. You look at Blood Bowl, the computer game for that was huge. I know a lot of people that really jumped in on that. And now all of a sudden, Blood Bowl is a thing again, and man, those models look fantastic.
Yeah, I was just about to say, did you see those that were posted on Twitter?
Yeah, a bunch of podcasters got some advanced copies and have been putting them together, and I think Wayne has been painting them.
Passer already.
Tyler Mangle has been painting some of those up too.
Really? Yeah, it just they look fantastic, and it's so good that I've never been a fan of Blood Bowl, but I'm seriously I'm gonna play it.
Yeah,
and just to get my hands on some
on the models. You just want the orcs
and the dwarves.
So, yeah, that's true. So yeah, you knew Blood Bowl was going to come back out from the specialist as the first offering because that game has such a following. It's been dead in Games Workshop's eyes for how long, and it still has such a following.
Yeah,
that you knew that one had to be the first one out of the gate because people were screaming for that almost as much as Dark Elves and Dwarves. So
really hoping that either Mordheim or Necromunda is not far behind.
Yeah.
And I was having a discussion on Twitter a couple days ago with some guys who were talking about, could you imagine what Forge World could do for Mordheim?
Oh my God.
The quality of models that they could put out, and the cost isn't as much of an issue in that game because you need 8 to 15 guys, so even if you're dropping like $20 for a model that comes with a ton of different weapon options and customization ability.
And with the way they do things today, oh my God.
Yeah, it's just I'm pretty excited about the potential.
I just want to see Epic again, and that's when I'll throw all other games away and just play Epic for the rest of my life.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what they do with Epic for sure.
1, don't screw it up. 2, just re-release it with, get rid of the cards, get rid of the silliness. I mean, you can keep the cards and all that stuff, but just get rid of some of the silliness and bring it back.
Yeah, I'm curious if it'll be like a one-off board game thing, or if it'll be
No,
you
it's
can
gotta
expand
be
it,
miniatures.
or no, I'm saying like because it would be very easy to release a board game of Epic that comes with an Imperial army and a Chaos army, and then that's all you get. You just kind of play different missions out of that, kind of like Space Hulk.
That would be horrible.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I think would be terrible. But
to me, when I see them, in the 40K world, they're building up towards the Siege of Terra. There's nobody, not even clubs that I know of, that are going to be able to match the Siege of Terra with 28mm figures. First of all, you have to buy, the local Sears store to set up the tables. Then you have to have, several million points on a side.
Oh, well, yeah.
But in Epic, you could do Siege of Terra, and I just have it in my mind that as they build towards the Siege of Terra in the releases, I think that might be when we see Epic released again. Because you could do a... I'm just going to cry. You could do one hell of a Siege of Terra in Epic and have fun.
Well, it would appear that, I guess maybe it won't happen as fast in the 30K series, because they're also building to the Siege of Terra in the Horse Heresy.
Yeah.
But that is
Same
going to take a
speed.
few years before that concludes, because why not keep hitting that loot pinata? But I think for 40K, it's going to build, and then maybe in the summer they'll release the new edition and with an end times, hopefully.
And just think, if they did it right and they made the rule set open enough, you could have the same rule set apply to Sigmar and Fantasy and 30K and just change up what the units look like. And then we could do the All Gates War in Sigmar with, the actual forces that were involved.
Maybe.
We could do those big fights. I have a dream, and it's my dream. Let me live it.
I mean, they used to have War Master.
Yeah.
I don't think that was terribly successful.
No, it was actually dumb.
But it also had bad mechanics, bad 80s mechanics.
Yeah, and that's it. They've learned a heck of a lot more by now, and
yeah,
a good 10mm game to go side by side with the other ones, I think I hope it would be a hit.
All right, well, enough pining about.
Yeah, we've done a half
Nostalgia.
hour on just new stuff, so.
All right, let's jump into the realm of battle.
Okay.
The Realm of Creation, where we talk about what we've been up to in the hobby the last 2 weeks. Elric, have you been up to anything?
Not a whole lot. There's this little game called Mordheim that's kind of screwed any my ability to get anything done. I've been just trying to work on the Malignant box that I was talking about, but I haven't really made a whole lot of headway. I'm going to try and get in on that as much as I can. Hopefully next show I can report.
You going to be able to join us on our painting nights?
Yeah, if we stop recording on painting nights.
Yeah. It was Halloween.
Yeah. No, I definitely want to do that. I think that'll help motivate to get more stuff done. You gonna have my Iron Jaws painted? Huh?
I have a Stormcast army you can use.
Oh, God.
Pushing it hard.
Yeah, but I have dignity, so I'm just kidding.
At least you didn't say I have integrity.
Yeah. What about you, James? Or Bill?
I was gonna say,
looking at
me
Bill,
saying,
say
"What about
James.
you, James?" Well, for me, I finished building 15 Temple Guard. I primed the Croxagors, the Stegodon. I primed everything in my Seraphon army, and I base coated my Carnosaur. And that's
You mean the
about
Troglodon?
it. Huh?
Troglodon?
Well, he's a Carnosaur, but I guess as a thing, he's a Troglodon.
I was going to say he looks an awful lot like a Troglodon.
He does, but the
Wizzywig.
Carnosaur looks exactly.
Oh, he does. Carnosaur looks way cooler.
Nuh-uh. Look at his face. You hurt his feelings.
Yeah, well,
So-
that's what he gets for being a terrible unit.
Oh, stop.
You were never good in 8th edition. You're not good now.
The only reason I have him is I really like that ability to extend the range of the spells.
Oh, okay.
And, I mean, that to me is I think that's really, that gives you a 36-inch range for your
They make a
spells.
pill for that.
Cialis for Seraphon. But yeah, that's about all I've gotten done. So, what about you, James?
I haven't got too much done.
Oh yeah, you said that
This weekend I was Pokemon going it up. Yeah.
Pokemon go to the polls.
Yeah, I didn't get anything done this week.
And when he says, let's just talk about how James does things to the extreme. When he says playing some Pokemon, what did you do? 115 kilometers?
Something like that.
Yeah.
In about 3 days.
Jeez.
So yeah, take it to the extreme.
Hey,
I collect shrink wrap. You do things to extreme.
Yeah, I need a Dragonite, so. So I didn't get anything done this week. Last week though, I worked on the Dryads. I think the last time we talked, I think I had just green stuff them. I don't think I had put paint to them.
Yeah,
So I was able to paint them up, posted some pictures on Instagram, and I was actually able to finish them on our last paint night. So they're pretty much done.
They're gorgeous.
I might add another. I got most of the details on them. I'll probably post another picture of the finished models up. I might want to do another highlight on the skin. I haven't decided yet, but we'll see.
I tell you, they look good. They look awesome right now. I mean, just that one I saw tonight was, wow, he was killer. So, but definitely check out the Instagram to see him.
Yeah, just not looking forward to 20 more of
doing
them.
it 29 more or 19 more times.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, maybe I might break it up with a Tree Man or something else in the meantime. Try to
Mega Boss or a War Chanter.
Are those Sylvaneth?
No, they're not.
I'm not sure.
I don't know. I think I got some death I got to put together too.
Oh, God.
Morgul.
Hey, can I get you to do a commission for me? It's funny. Hostages are bad.
It's all right. Actually, I'm going to get all actual brute models to use, so might as well wait anyways.
Yeah.
So is that it? Oh, I'm sorry.
No. Yeah, I think that's about it.
Yeah, really. Not much. Unfortunately, I was hoping to get more done, but again, damn more time.
Yeah.
So good, but so frustrating. Never mind.
Let's end creation and go to battle.
All right.
The Realm of Battle, where we're going to cover battle reports from what the games we played in the last couple of weeks. I think, Elric, you and I played a game.
Did we, though? Was it a game?
See, now, just because I won...
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Actually, what we did was on Saturday afternoon, we got together before another game we were going to play. We played a quick 1,100 point.
1120, I think it was.
Yeah.
1140. What it all rounded out
somewhere
to.
around that. We played on a 4x4. And really what it was just to let me get some experience in with the Seraphon army that I had. So put together a quick list, and I put together a list that I kind of wanted to test some different combos with, and the way the game played out, because we used Ben Curry's terrain dice to identify all the different terrain pieces.
Yeah, which is something we're going to have to start doing more
Yeah.
in every game.
Yeah. And it actually, well, what it did was it kept me from testing out the Kroxigor skink thing that I wanted to play out. But it was no big deal. I mean, it was still, got him on the board, got him moving around. Saw what they did. Got my slan to kill you badly.
So we played the Hold or Die mission,
Yes.
which is a narrative mission out of the General's Handbook.
Yep.
You didn't want to play any of the match play missions.
Yeah.
You also took it upon yourself to then ignore the match play rules.
Because
Sat
we
there.
weren't matched.
Right? Fair. Hey, we only use points to make our armies. What? Of course we should stop right there.
Well, yeah.
So...
He's going to make it sound like I'm the bad guy here.
Well, I mean, it probably wouldn't have been a game if you hadn't been able to sit there and spam Arcane Bolt over and over and over and over again.
They're literally unplayable.
They're literally unplayable
Yeah, because
and
they're
matched play.
Oh,
didn't
that's
summon,
right.
did
Yeah,
I?
that's right.
I just want
So-
everybody to know he might be coming after me, but I'm the Seraphon. I could have summoned up another 1,000
Yeah,
points, and
that
I
is true.
didn't.
That is true.
Yeah.
It was a fun game, and it's cool to try out some of the narrative missions and stuff, because this one has stuff like where different command abilities that you could use.
Yes.
As the defender, or I guess technically I was the invader, but the way it kind of looked on the table, I was...
Yeah, you're the defender, really.
You can use a command ability that all your units within 12 inches can't move, charge, or pile in, but they get to reroll armor saves.
Yeah.
So that was... I never used it because the way the game starts out, if you're the invader like I was, you take a third of your army, you place it in an area on the table within 9 inches of a centered area.
Yeah.
You can then deploy anywhere else on the table that's more than 12 inches away. So 21 inches away from my point,
that.
basically. Yeah. And then the rest of my army, I pick a board edge, and starting turn 2, it comes on.
Yeah.
And the problem I found was that my guys would get within that 12 inches, and if I used that command ability, then they wouldn't be able to move and get in to help. Because your whole goal is to kill my 1/3 of my army, and my goal is to kill your entire army.
Yeah.
I didn't get to use it, but it would have been useful in some instances, except for the spam arcane bolt you kept throwing at me because you decided you didn't want to play a match play game. But
I'm not even going to talk about the days prior deciding that we were going to do X amount of points and play narrative, and there was none of that. It was just me deciding on the spur of the moment to play like a jerk. Yeah. So, but anyway,
we'll do another match play.
I'd actually like to try that scenario again. Except playing on we played it on a 4x4, which was somewhat limiting. Yeah. And it limited me in my setup, but it also limited you in where you could bring people in. Because I think your command ability would have been useful.
Had there been a little more distance.
If there was a little bit more room for you to bring guys in, because you could still get 1 or 2 rounds of them coming in and cracking my skull.
Maybe play with a little bigger army, too.
Yeah, I'd say 2,000 points next time.
That way, because the third of my army was 5 brutes, a mega boss, and a war chanter, which is not terribly hard to chew through. So, but it was a fun game, and I definitely want to start trying some of the narrative missions out of the General's Handbook, as well as out of the story. The whole Realm Gate Wars series. There's tons.
Some of those scenarios are just, and they're they even tell you flat out they're not balanced in any way, shape, or form.
Right. Yeah.
They're there for you to recreate what happened. But there's still a blast to play. It's not like you don't go into it thinking you're going to lose, because the way the victories are set up in those games, it's balanced for the side that's on the back foot to actually have a chance.
Yeah, and there's also a bunch of multiplayer games. I want to try some of those. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yep.
That's the only game that we've gotten in the last couple weeks. Did you, James, get anything in?
No, except for a 40K game. But where Andrew tabled me, but
it happens when you play Andrew in 40K.
So I played that last week, and then this week you all were pansies and decided not to show up or something.
What? Oh, yeah. Wife had a Halloween party that ended in tears. God. So I guess we'll take this moment to also announce that we're going to be running a prep event, an ITC prep event for the Las Vegas Open, obviously, on January 7th here in town at Active Imagination. The rules and everything are going to be exactly how they are in the ITC, or the Las Vegas Open Age of Sigmar event. So if you have any questions, whatever, you can look at that. It's 2,000 points with a 500-point sideboard. I'm not going to require painting on this one because since it's a prep event, people may want to change their list. It's 4 weeks before LVO, so I'd hate for somebody to feel obligated to paint stuff they may not use or anything like that. But definitely after that, everything's going to be required to be painted for events here. But so if you're in the area and want to come in, or if you're going to the Las Vegas Open and are looking for getting some prep games in to test your list or whatever, hit us up. And
no, we're not going to be doing this as a real big event type. We're not going to be doing trophies and awards and all that, are we?
Right.
It's just prep for LVO.
So,
and of course, same thing, prep for Adepticon, because they're so close together. So if you want to prep for something and you're in the Southwest, come down and beat our faces in. So. That's it for Battle then, right?
Yep.
Wow, that's pretty thin.
Yeah. The Realm of Lore, where apparently we're going to rant about the ITC for the next 20 minutes because James has got to work out some frustration on a microphone.
It wasn't just me, it was you too.
I know, yeah.
I was going to say, I think we're all in agreement here, so.
For anybody who doesn't know what the ITC is, it is
it's the independent tournament circuit.
When a male tournament loves a female tournament.
Very much.
Very much. Now, okay, so it's a tournament system put in place by the guys at Frontline.
Yeah.
They've used it for a long time for 40K, and it's also used extensively for Infinity, because both of those games, especially Infinity, are tournament-driven games. Well, they've opened it up for Age of Sigmar. The pros of the ITC are that it provides, for things like 40K, there's a lot of gray areas in 40K. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of issues that have come up in the game, and GW has been slow to address those for FAQs and erratas and things like that. So they put together an unofficial FAQ, basically.
Yeah.
Basically what the guys during 8th, you had the ETC do the same thing. The guys that ran the South Coast, the Heel and Hammer guys, kind of did stuff like that as well.
It's a tournament framework so that everyone's kind of playing in the same ballpark.
Exactly. On top of that, now this is a pro that some people also see as a con. They have a ranking system.
Yeah. So
you can run an ITC event that awards players points depending on how they finish and depending on how many people are at the event, etc. There's a couple criteria. Those points are then sent back to the guys that run the whole thing, and it will determine your rankings for not only the faction you play, but overall your team / club or whatever can also be ranked. Some people see that, a lot of people see that as a pro. There are some people that very much see that as a con because it can bring out a different level of competitiveness that can detract in some ways.
Yeah.
Well, I don't, this may be a whole nother topic to discuss, terms like whack and stuff like that, but I guess let's get to the crux of it. They do a podcast called The Ninth Realm where they talk about Age of Sigmar. And on their latest episode, they discussed issues that they're having with the rules for Age of Sigmar. Now, we've all listened to the episode, and I know some other people in the Age of Sigmar community that have listened to the episode, and we've had our reactions to their thoughts and what have you, and that's, I guess, what we're going to address here. That's what we want to talk about, because some of the things they're talking about that they're having issues with, or that they're saying they're getting feedback from their listener base or whoever it is, those people are having issues with. Some of these things are fundamental mechanics of Age of Sigmar.
The game.
Right. The biggest one seemed to be the rolling for initiative, the random initiative.
The alternate turn order, yeah.
And the fact that you can get the dreaded double turn. So, I don't think it's ever been an issue.
No.
For us, the double turn. If you look at the English scene, and I've talked to some people that are avid tournament goers over there, or event goers over there, it's not regarded as an issue. In fact, it's something that you just have to plan for. You have to adjust your play style based on that. Recently at the Nova Open, you can hear this on
Scrubby and Wells podcast.
The Scrubby and Wells show. They talk about how they actually took data from every game that was played in the Age of Sigmar tournament there to see if the double turns actually affected it, and it had no effect on the overall tournament. So I think the alternating turn, or the random turn order, as it were, is a very hard mechanic for people to wrap their head around. There are some games out there that use a very similar mechanic, and a bolt action does stuff like that.
Well, they do a dice draw, a command draw.
That's
unit,
right.
not
right.
size.
And the games that do random turn things like that, it does tend to be like a unit like per unit, not a whole army.
Yeah, at a time.
So I can see why some people may freak out about it. And I know that when we first started playing Age of Sigmar, it was definitely something that was like, wow, there is a time for adjustment you have to factor in. Once you get comfortable with it, you then have to understand that you have to plan for it.
Yeah.
If you cannot just throw your army out there and be like, okay, well, you're going to get your turn and then I'll go again. And I can just deny you the ability to do anything on your one turn through planning, etc., and then smash you on my turn because I just know how this is going to go.
Yeah.
Whereas with a random turn order, if you just throw it out there and don't anticipate the fact that your opponent could get 2 turns in a row, yeah, you're going to lose. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say there's a whole strategic aspect of the game that you would take away by getting rid of that.
Yeah, exactly. I know they used in one of their counterpoints, they were saying that it really helps shooting armies getting that double turn of shooting twice and not receiving any damage back. But I kind of found the opposite was true when we went to Slobberknocker, when I played the Chaos Dwarf player. His entire army
it was all
a shooting army.
Yeah.
And if there had been fixed turns, and I had to take 2 rounds of shooting like it was, if we had not alternating initiative, it would have been a really tough matchup.
Oh, because you got a double turn against
because I went second. I gave him, so I got 1 round of shooting against me.
Mm-hmm.
Pushed everything forward, and I gambled on that double turn.
You anticipated it and played it.
I mean, if I would have lost it, it would hurt really bad.
Yeah.
Right.
But that was kind of the only way I had a chance of even getting into that army with some kind of strength. And I got that double turn, was able to get in combat, and it went from there. But if it was fixed initiative, that game would have been
markedly different.
A lot different.
Yeah.
Well, it's just when you take that away from the game, they talked about how it's just too much of a random element.
One thing I was thinking about is a comparison that maybe 40K players who are coming into the scene might not be able to wrap their head around. But one thing that it sounds similar to is in 8th edition, the Magic phase, with the Irresistible Force and the fact that they had such incredibly powerful spells like the Dwellers Below and stuff, where if I just get 2 6s, you have to take it on the chin. And how many people would just go off about that being an overpowered mechanic.
6 dice monkey.
Yeah, 6 dice monkeys, and that's all you got to do, 6 dice skills. And I think back on it, and I played hundreds of games of 8th edition, and a lot of them were tournament prep, really competitive games. In all of those games, I had my game dictated by a spell cast irresistibly in such a way that I couldn't respond to it or do anything to overcome it twice. One of those games, I deserved it because I was playing a Queen Star, and that was the only way my opponent had a chance to beat me. And that's the point I was making with when we were talking with Tyler, that I think 8th had inherent balance things built into it, like those spells to stop Death Star units, like the Queen Star. And then the other game, the spell actually came from a 7th edition spell. The 7th edition, what was the Warriors of Chaos, where you roll randomly for the strength?
Oh, was it the
Infernal Gateway?
Infernal Gateway, yeah.
Yeah, the old 7th edition Infernal Gateway. I was playing dwarves, had 3 blocks. Opponent ran up with a Chaos Wizard, irresistibly cast Infernal Gateway at my middle unit that had my BSB in it. Got an 11 for the strength. It evaporated the entire unit, and I couldn't recover. So that was a 7th edition spell. So you couldn't even do that in 8th edition because you had to roll individually for models in the unit. There was nothing that could just remove a whole unit. But again, twice in hundreds of games that I played of 8th edition with those rules. And we never changed them. We didn't use Lookout Sirs or anything like that. Now those games stick out in my mind. I still remember how those games went and the results of them because of those spells. But I don't allow that to dictate my entire memory of 8th edition and how Magic worked in that. And I feel like maybe people are having that same experience with the double turn, where they aren't quite anticipating it. They're still new to it, still learning it. That's fine. And they get taken off on a double turn because that stuff will happen regardless, and they're letting that paint their judgment completely on the entire game.
I know even from the very beginning of this game, the double turn mechanic has been something that's been controversial. But I said it before in the YouTube video. For everybody that loses a game due to the double turn, there's another guy that won the game because of the double turn. It's inherently balanced. You have to know that it's out there. It's a condition of the fight. It's a condition of the battle that you're playing. And honestly, deal with it and move on.
I mean, the UK's been dealing with it. I mean, they have certain tactics that they know when the other person gets a double turn, that's when they can push their army. Yeah. Because they're not going to get another double turn against them. Yeah. I mean, and they kept saying, "Oh, it doesn't belong in competitive play. It doesn't belong in competitive play." Well, if you look at the UK scene, it's dominated by the same top 10 people that do well at tournaments. I don't think they're just, they're getting the initiative every single turn.
Yeah, they're constantly getting lucky double turns, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you get Brazil, they just had Clash again. He won first place again with, a different army, warrior, with Stormcast Warrior Brotherhood, but he's consistently on top all the time. And it's not because he's rolling double turns.
Right.
And because I've gotten this before at events where people will flat out tell me, well, I don't give a crap what they do in the UK. This isn't the UK. Well, you should care, because that's kind of where Warhammer originates from, and they're going to get a lot of their information based off events that are run there, especially in their own house at Warhammer World.
At Warhammer World.
And if they're not having issues with this because the games are running just fine, then
maybe something you're doing is wrong.
Yeah, maybe you need to reevaluate how you're playing the game and just anticipate that aspect.
Well, and James, you even talk about it with your Sylvaneth army. You almost always go against the grain and let the other person go first.
Oh no, you mean?
Or I'm sorry, you go first.
I go first, and
to give
I always
them
give
the opportunity of the double turn.
Yep, exactly.
So it's in your mindset already. You know what's out there. You've planned for it. You're ready for it. I'm sorry, but if you push your army in such a way out there that a double turn is going to end your game, you've made a mistake, not the system.
I mean, I think we were talking the wider whole thing of this is they have a certain mindset coming into this, and they're trying to make this game fit their mindset when they should be expanding their mindset to fit their game. This isn't 40K. This isn't, Warhammer Fantasy. This isn't that game. This is AOS. This is something totally
fundamentally different game.
It's new and it's different.
Well, it's like I was saying, I play a little bit of Malifaux on the side, and I don't go to the Malifaux games and say, I don't like the way cards dictate how this game is played. Let's stop using that and let's roll some dice. That's what I'm comfortable with.
Yeah.
So I don't want this to sound like we're
bashing
anyone or being catty or anything like that. What we're trying to do is explain. I guess basically we don't want the game to change based off knee-jerk reactions people are having off of
a few games
that they might have bad experiences with.
Yeah, exactly.
So, it's not to say that if something in the ITC were to change how they rule something in Age of Sigmar works, that doesn't mean we all have to play that.
I mean, it's not going to change the game, but
right.
I mean, the fear, or not fear, but I think we realize that Frontline is a thing here in the U.S.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
They're a thing, and if anyone can change the game here in the States, it's going to be them.
Well, and that's what that was like his kind of mission statement, was that he wanted to put together something and present it to Games Workshop based off feedback he's gotten.
Yeah.
And reflections of the rules and stuff.
I mean, what was one of the other things they had? They had
problems with shooting.
So yeah,
I mean,
out of combat.
Yeah, I mean, so they were making assumptions that GW had missed this stuff or overlooked it. But when you look at certain war scrolls, like I was pointing out, the Tomb King archers, it says if an enemy is within 3 inches, you don't get double shots, because they normally get double shots if they're more. But if they're within 3 inches, it means you're in combat. Yeah. They're not. It means they can shoot.
Yes, that means they did.
But they're not getting double the bonuses. Same thing with, if you look at the Dracoths from the Stormcast, one of their breasts is 6 inches, and it says if you're within 3 inches, you do double mortal wounds.
Right.
So if you're within 3 inches again,
You're
you're shooting, you're in combat. So they're expecting you to do.
Right.
It wasn't an oversight on GW. This isn't. They're not stupid like a lot of the 40K players assume they are, and
or that they don't play test any of their stuff. No, they. In fact, I think it's in this White Dwarf.
It's in
Ben Johnson mentions how him and Ben Curry were playtesting Age of Sigmar like 3 years ago or something, like a long time ago. They were trying out this new game of Warhammer on round bases or whatever.
And I think one of their big beefs was shooting out of combat, out of the combat that you're in to another unit as it drives by. That mechanic of shooting out of the combat that you're in melee contact with a unit and you can shoot out of it. It's not that big of a thing.
Yeah, and it's also, I know that people thought shooting, especially when Age of Sigmar came out, that shooting was going to be way overpowered because of mechanics like that, being able to shoot into combat now. There's definitely some very shooty armies. You know, you look at with Stormcast being able to take Judicators as battle line, and the new Bone Splitters army, which I got mixed feelings about their actual capabilities. Shooting is not the thing that dominates games.
No, because we got my Sylvaneth, who has barely any shots.
Right.
And I think it's a top tier army.
People do well with Flesh Eater Courts and Bloodbound that have little to no shooting. So Iron Jaws do fairly well, and there's no shooting in that army.
It is kind of scary though when you get, when you see the peasant bowmen and there's 40 of them and it looks like they're all packed into a $250 size space, and yet 50 shots are coming out of it. There's
120.
There is that thing that goes off in your head like, oh my God, that's way too powerful. But then when you realize that they did their 100 so shots and I took 2 wounds. Okay. And I mean, what did my skinks? I did 20 skinks against your brutes, and I think I did 1 wound, was it?
Yeah, but I was in cover,
you were in,
which is
cover.
something you would exploit or try to exploit.
Well, and that's it. If you're up against a shooty army and you're not in cover, what's your point?
or using Mystic Shield or something to get you guys across.
So I mean, I know traditionally as a region, our region is. I don't want people to misunderstand this too. I mean, traditionally as a region, even back in 8th edition, we were mostly a rules as written region.
Yeah, we didn't use comp.
We didn't use comp like the East Coast or the West Coast or something like that. I mean, we were kind of aligned with the Midwest where, just play it out of the book. So we're not opposed to changes happening. I think since AOS, I mean, I've realized the need for composition sometimes, but I think we're kind of against changing core mechanics of the game. I'm all for composition, maybe limiting something, or you can't use this and that, or something along those lines.
The rules of one are a great example.
Exactly.
Of a tweak made,
and that's
to the game.
I mean, that's a perfectly good change to make the game more enjoyable between 2 people, even when you're fighting tooth and nail to the death.
But I think it's very dangerous when you start.
Yeah, but none of the rules of one fundamentally change the way
the core rules of the game. Right. Yeah, I think when you start changing core fundamental rules, you're changing the feel of the game itself, and you're kind of going down a dangerous path.
Yeah. I
mean, because then it's not going to be AOS. It's going to be like, we used to call it, ETC
40K
Hammer.
fantasy is what it's going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Potentially. The other thing they talked about was base sizes, and this is one thing that seemed to get a little traction with some of the people I talked to. And again, I think we're just going to have to be a little patient in that GW is still doing the thing where they don't want to run anybody off that is a crossover that is bringing their 8th edition army with them. They're not enforcing the bases. And I know you get these cheeky morons that want to say like, well, I'll just put Archeon on a 25 mil round and blah, blah. Well, first of all, stop being an idiot. You're not clever. And second of all, they are going, I can assure you that when 2nd edition AOS or however this game will evolve, whether it's just going to be an organic change where we get a general's handbook every year that just makes changes, or they actually do it in editions like they have been. Bases are going to matter again, and it's all going to be on rounds, and it's all going to be, if your warrior comes on a 32 mil, they've got to be on a 32 mil, and you trying to put them on a 25 mil so you can manipulate reach is not going to be acceptable, and then you're going to have to rebase your whole army. So
to play competitively,
sure, yes, you could play in your garage or whatever with your made-up base sizes.
If you're doing that, though, I don't think you really have any friends.
Then you're not concerned with this discussion.
Yeah, that's
basically.
True. Yeah.
So I do get, because we talked about that last episode where it was brought up that some models essentially get screwed for being like on 32 mils because there's no way for them to get greater than reach 1 weaponry and things like that. And because they've come out and said bases don't matter, people want to try to manipulate that. I wouldn't do it. Don't do it, especially for something like the LVO where Games Workshop is actually running it. If they see you trying to put your Skull Reapers on 25s or something, I don't think it's going to fly for you. So,
and the other,
no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The other positive thing, I mean, we're not doom and gloom on this.
No,
for sure.
But
we're very much looking forward to going to the LVO.
And ITC as a whole.
Yeah,
I mean, we're very excited. We're running an ITC event.
Right. So. We're just concerned again that people are kind of freaking out because there's been a lot of people that have come into the game because of the General's Handbook, which means they've only been playing the game for short period of time compared to
less than 6 months,
right? Compared to some other people like us that have been playing it since day one, and the concern is that they haven't quite gotten into the groove of the game, and their frustrations with it will influence the ITC in the rulings after because up until the LVO they're not changing anything. After that, it's fair game.
Fair game, which is the point I was going to bring up, is we, as an AOS community, the existing one, I'd like to say, we can make our voices heard in this. When voting comes up, I think it's going to be pretty important. Yeah,
and I think that's really important to stress is that all of these things that ITC wants to do and what they talk about, all these things go up for votes. It's not like they put out a document and that becomes the gospel. This stuff goes out to people you get to say, what do you think, yes or no, and throw an opinion on there. So it's not like just a couple of guys are sitting around the room saying, hey, let's change the game. There is a chance to vote. And
kind of like the ETC stuff.
Yeah.
Man, this army's really broken. Let's just completely change how it plays.
Sure.
Right, so it's generally like a handful of people that come up with the ideas, and then they put it forward to everyone to vote on. They don't, and if they feel strongly about doing something one way, and then the community vote says no, then they abide by what the community says. Which you gotta have respect for.
Look at just last year with the different changes to some of the psychic powers and what have you that everyone thought was for sure going to fly, and it got voted down. And you're like, what? But and the other positive thing that comes out of the ITC too is you look at the great things they've done for 40K to make it a better game to play in a tournament setting. There's no denying that the effort and what they're doing is great. It's just like we said, don't jump to conclusions based on incomplete evidence.
Right. Another big benefit they have is that it helps promote events. Because we can let them know that in January we're running an ITC event.
Yep.
They can then put it on their website so that more people can see these things. I know there's the TGA forums too that we'll also use, but the ITC is another one of those things that help you
get the word out.
And potentially become a bigger thing. So.
Yeah. Well, and that's the whole goal. That's the whole stated goal of ITC is to just get the game out to more people and get more people playing tournaments and having fun.
Sure.
So maybe if our listeners have any feedback for us, because we got our experience and everything else, but it'd be interesting to hear what other people are thinking.
Yeah, has the game become almost unbearable because of the double turn or things for you? I don't know. Are we coming off as a bunch of a-holes? let us know.
Could be we're dead wrong.
Well,
be the first time.
Let's not get crazy. So we're also going to discuss some listener feedback that we got on our Facebook page from Patrick Berdine. He writes, topic for podcast discussion following your awesome etiquette talk. Models that make for a negative play experience and how to address them before, during, after the game. Also could be some combos that sort of thing. Also in related news, stupid freaking necrosphinx. So,
man after my own heart.
Yeah. So I've thought about this, and I see comments that people make. Like earlier today, actually, I was looking at the Age of Sigmar page. Somebody made a comment about Ardboys, and if the models that wield the banner and the drums, do they lose their weapon attacks or anything like that? And well, no, they don't. There's nothing in the rules that specifically state that they sacrifice their weapon attacks or anything like that.
Really?
Right. Yeah. So if you want them to be equipped with the great choppa or two hand choppas, they just attack normally. Yeah, for sure. There's nothing in the unit description that states that they give up those attacks to carry the musician or standard bearer.
Really? See, because I didn't bring in my war drums or my warrior banner because I thought those guys wouldn't get an attack.
No. They still fight just normal. They always have. They even did in 8th edition. In fact, the only ones that didn't were the Bretonnians and Dwarves, because they had the old 6th edition that explicitly said that they give up those attacks and
interesting.
And weapon profiles.
See, now I thought they came in a unit of 12 or a box of 12 because you have the war drum guy, the banner guy,
right,
and then 10 fighter guys. And you even called me out Saturday when we were playing because I built 4 of them with spears, the rest of them with clubs, so that I could put the spears in the back rank like we talked about in the last show. And then you said, no, the unit is armed with something.
There's a handful of units that allow you to mix things, but
and
generally it has to be the same weapon loadout. But I bring up that Facebook post because somebody made a comment, because people were saying, well, you lose one attack. There's nothing in the rules that say you lose one attack, you lose anything. You don't lose anything. If he's equipped with whatever you need him to be equipped with in the unit, and still makes the attacks accordingly. And one person made the comment of course you lose one attack. What's the deal with these whack players, WAAC, wanting to try to get win at all costs, trying to get as much as they can or whatever. So I wanted to address this because this is something that always comes up, that somehow if you want to play by the rules or whatever, that you're a whack player, or you're gamey or anything like that, and to address the question, the feedback that we got about broken
units
or perceived bad. I'm assuming, things like Archeon at a 2,000 point game or Gordrak or whatever.
Veil and Vortex.
Or yes, so well, I'll touch on that shortly. That might contradict everything I'm saying here. So, I don't think that anything should be labeled like that, to be honest, that there should be a whack label thrown around on armies or the people who play them.
Yeah.
I think that's a negative outlook to have. When you start throwing those negative labels on things, it only damages the community and the game as a whole. Because for one, it's just negativity that's being thrown around. And two, what you perceive as being something that's overpowered or broken or something like that may not be the case for somebody else who feels like they might have that figured out. And they might think something else is inherently broken or something. I mean, we all feel that way. Like, as I'm saying this, there are armies out there that I'm like, holy cow, man, that's a cut above the rest or whatever. But you just have to take that into account.
I could kind of see how, if you're facing an opponent who's got Archeon and 10 Varangard as his whole list, and I'm just throwing those numbers out, I don't know if the points work.
Right.
You could look across the table at that and go, oh my God, I'm dead. And in a narrative play game, you might be right. Same thing with like a Nagash list, where he's going to summon in
where you can use
9,000 points
on
full
mode.
You have to also understand that in a matched play scenario, that Archeon and 10 Vanguard list is going to probably lose almost every game, because all you have to do is avoid him and score the objectives, which he can't do. Archeon cannot score an objective. There is no match. Well, there is one match play game where
Gift
heroes
from the heavens
score.
or what? Or no,
3 places of power.
3 places of power.
3 places of power. So there's one that he could potentially win, but don't play him in that. You know, if you're at a tournament, you don't have a choice, but don't play him in that game. So,
well, I've yet to hear of Archeon winning a tournament or even doing remotely well.
And what's everything that you saw at Warlord? You know, everybody that had Nagash and Archeon, that was the number one priority target, and it died early in the game because everything ganged up on it. So I think, yes, it's a negative play experience if you're facing it and you don't
anticipate it.
Yeah.
Is education the key here? Possibly?
Well, so I would imagine that the guy who messages this probably had a negative experience against a Necrosphinx or two. And,
yeah,
you know, and Jules was running 2 of them in a list for a while. And they're rough. You know, the having wounds and the amount of damage they can put out. There's a lot of things in the game that are like those. Yeah, you're showing me the Beastclaw Raiders, which we're going to finally get around to discussing that one of these days. But the Stonehorn does the same thing.
Right,
the damage output of a lord on a Stonehorn with some artifacts and battle traits is bananas.
Yeah.
The stuff they can do, and they can take damage all day, and there's even some healing capability in there, which just gives them that much more resiliency. You have to anticipate that kind of stuff. I mean, this is kind of what we keep touching on, and expanding your knowledge of the game and what's in it. And, you know, if you play a game and you have like a really negative experience against a Necrosphinx, and it just basically walks through your army and you feel like you don't have anything that can deal with it, I would stress possibly looking at what else your army can put on the field. And again, remember, you're not restricted to playing, I can only play Stormcast, or I can only play Bloodbound, or whatever. You have the entirety of the Chaos or Order or whatever to utilize. And I promise you that you'll find stuff in any one of the Grand Alliances that can deal with anything else, if applied correctly.
Because, I mean, another one of those would be like, I always hear people, especially the Knight Vexilor, the teleport banner. I mean, it's like people, when it first came out, people were like so scared of that. And now it's not even a thing. I think we saw the Clash list. There was, out of like the 6 or 7 Order players, 4 of them were Stormcast. I don't think one of them brought a teleport banner.
Yeah.
They're all Warrior Brotherhood.
Yeah.
I mean, so the first time you get taken off by 10 Retributors that teleport in your face because you weren't anticipating it,
right,
you can be a negative experience. But there's people like the Hobby Killer out there who've put articles about how you bubble wrap stuff, how you anticipate. I mean, when Andrew was playing his Warrior Brotherhood, his whole entire army could teleport anywhere on the board, but then that's when you learn, okay, so they have to be more than 9 inches away. You know, their bases are 40 millimeter bases. So that gives me, if I have 18 inches between my guys, he can't teleport there. So it gives you a lot bigger area of play than you would think initially. You're like, oh, I have to, how do I deploy against this? How do I do that? But it's like, no, you can just spread out your units 18 inches away, and they're not teleporting right next to your key piece that you need or something like that. I mean, it's knowledge and education, I think, that people need to learn, instead of, like we were talking about earlier, having those knee-jerk reactions to, oh my god, that's so broke. It's
like the discussions we always have about Sylvaneth, where Sylvaneth when you look at them in the book, seem like, holy cow, these guys are really strong because you can throw those forests around and stuff like that. But you have to understand that sometimes you're going to play on tables that are really inherently terrain heavy, and you're not going to be able to manipulate your forests and stuff as well as you were hoping that your battle plan might initially thought, and that can have a huge effect on
or even on Scribbing Walls podcast, they were talking about the scout models like the Shadow
Warriors
and
Shades
and stuff like that can pop up afterwards.
Yeah.
And you place it anywhere on the table. So, you put your forest down. Okay. I'm popping up in the middle of that. Sorry, you can't teleport out of that.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of, so I would just stress at looking what tools are available to you if you're finding yourself running into something that,
instead of getting in a certain mindset and this is the way I play, this is my list, it has to be this way, this is what it is.
Right.
Expanding your outlook and being, there's other options available to me. I don't have to do this. I don't have to play that way.
Right.
Well, and if there is something that's bugging you, like, for instance, if his bugaboo is the Necrosphinx and it's causing him all that much consternation, literally just sandbox it. Set your army up on the kitchen table by yourself. Make a paper cutout that's the same base size of a Necrosphinx and attack it 20 times in an evening and figure out how to kill it.
Sure.
So that the next time you run across it, you know exactly what to do, even with just what you have. I mean, some people just don't, I can't go out and buy another unit from another army just to put in there just to deal with this one thing. But again, that's what sideboards are for in tournaments. But if you're playing friendly games and, you just can't seem to get past that guy, sandbox it until you do.
Sure.
So you'll learn a lot of stuff. Yeah. So
I think this also goes the other way too. Because I remember we were having a discussion. I was having a discussion with Andrew about LVO, and I mean we've talked about before taking stuff where there's kind of a fine line between telling your opponent what your army does, and then so I think there's also that element too, where playing your army is kind of a courtesy to let your opponent know what your army does. Necessarily, but you don't have to. I mean, there's that really weird fine line of how much do you tell them,
right?
How much do you divulge? Oh, I'm going to do this, this, and this. So, I think it falls. I think it falls on both players to be educated and educate others about their army.
And there is that, that whole thing of how much do you give away versus, and I think we're in that spot of time where Sigmar is new. There's a lot of people who are like me that are coming into Sigmar having never played fantasy. I don't know what a lot of these other models do. Now, I know what the books that have come out recently, but, when I fight the High Elves, I had no idea what any of those units did. Had no clue. And, at that point, he was explaining to me, this does this, and the dragon eats you all, and you die. So, okay, cool. Thank you, We're in that point, I think, where there's enough new blood in the game that doesn't have a lot of old experience with these units that knows kind of what they're about, that you do kind of have to sort of share more than you might think. But when you're talking about like you and Andrew playing, neither one of you are going to say anything because you both know where your background is and how much you know about the game. You're not going to give that up. But if you play the new guy at the store, chances are you're going to explain to him your entire army.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually kind of guilty of that. I've actually, back in 8th edition, when we were playing, I was playing one of the top tier guys from Colorado, Ruperto. We were actually playing a game, and I was playing my warriors, he was playing his dark elves, and I actually went out of my way to tell him to do his multi-shot with his repeater crossbows, or with his bolt throwers instead of a single shot. I mean, I always find myself doing that kind of stuff. I'm always on the side of, I'm not caution, but I'm always looking to help people out. I always forget sometimes I'm in a competitive event. I shouldn't be divulging this information to people. I mean, because I like to win, but I don't know if I'd necessarily want to win by omission on something like that. I mean, that's not really the way.
Or like somebody doesn't, they have a unit that has like a bravery that is boosted by like a banner, and then obviously the more than 10, and they think, oh well, it's this number, they roll, and something bad happens, and it's different. Do you say anything?
I usually try.
So do I.
I mean,
like, no, that's not how your thing works.
Yeah, even if it is in a competitive environment like that, I usually try to.
You don't want to.
You don't want to be like that guy that wins that way. That's kind of.
Oh, you had a reroll. You should have remembered that. Whoops.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I always feel better when I win. Knowing that.
Both played to the best.
We both played to our best of our ability instead of I rules lawyered him out, or he forgot it. Too bad.
Feel better winning, knowing that regardless of how well they played, you were still going to stomp them, and they didn't deserve to be on the same table as you. That's right. You remembered all your rules. It still didn't help you. It's terrible.
Yeah. I don't want you to have any excuses when I pound you. Okay,
yeah. Yeah, that's actually it right there.
Yeah. There you go. Eh?
That does not represent the opinions of the entire...
Right. You don't necessarily want to have another 30-minute discussion after a game of how certain things were ruled. Determine the overall standing of an event.
No, that would be bad.
Yeah.
So actually, just I'm gonna be. It's gonna be interesting to deal with when we go to LVO, because Sylvaneth have so many rules. And I don't know really necessarily how popular they are. It's like, well, what do I explain to people? What do I do? Maybe I might be like the Chaos Dwarf player from Guillermo. Might be like him and print my War Scrolls out, or do something like that. Because I know some of those. It's like, wait, your unit was here and it did what? And it just teleported over there, and now you're, it could get kind of...
Well, and it's one of those things, too, and I found this back in the old days of Dragon Con and some of the other East Coast. As the tournament goes on, the first couple of games, you're more in tune with, here's what this is going to do, here's what this is going to do, especially if you're playing a newer army or have newer units that not everyone's used to. As you get closer and closer to the top table and actually fighting for position, that tends to go away a little bit. But I think I've seen some pretty amazing top table games, especially in War Machine, where people were helping each other out simply because there's just so much to keep track of and so much to do and all this stuff that it's the friendly way to do it. But I'm not giving you anything at that top table. I might help you move your stuff. I might help you measure things, but I'm not going to tell you, oh, by the way, you forgot this.
Yeah, it's just one of those weird fine lines you gotta figure out for yourself.
Well, you figure when you're at the top table or you're in the top 10, people should be knowing.
Yeah, I mean,
what's going on. So. But I think more to his point, if you're literally finding something that you hate playing and it's going to drive you away from the game, it could be as simple as just talk to the guy that you're playing and say, I really hate playing that model. Please don't bring Archeon anymore.
Well, we do that
fun
to an extent here because I've talked about how I don't necessarily want to play you and Andrew ever. I mean, how, because I know the game you guys want to play, and that's not necessarily the game I want to play. So, or at least not at the moment. So we kind of have that discussion or whatever. Now, if your group is really limited on the number of people that are there, and it's like you and one other person or two other people, and one person just keeps bringing something that's incredibly brutal, then feel free to have a discussion. Just don't throw around negative labels right away just because they're bringing something that you haven't adapted to or you have a strong opinion on or something like that. If you can talk to them about it, see if maybe they'd be willing to try something else, or again, actually analyze what the tools you have to deal with something like that. I promise you there is something in your allegiance that can deal with anything that the other allegiances can put on the table.
Well, I think you see it in Sigmar. There is no meta army out there. Even the Skaven Molder
Oh, the Scryer, Clan Scryer,
things, has some, it was the biggest thing out there for, 4 weeks?
Well, it's
Now
still
people
a competitor for sure, but
yeah.
people are going to anticipate, especially higher end tournament players and
Yeah.
stuff are going to anticipate that style of list and know what their army can do to counteract that kind of shenanigans.
Or you take that into account when you're list building.
Right.
I don't think Hobby Killer is going to fall to that list very often.
Right.
So, and so there's ways. There's things that you can do to mitigate those things that you can't stand in this game. And I guarantee you, if someone's taking something in Necrosphinx that you hate, and you figure out how to beat it repeatedly, and then you just start face stomping them, they'll naturally change their list because they're tired of getting face stomped just like you were.
Right.
So,
I think that's about it, gentlemen.
yeah, I think so.
Yep.
Wrap up the realm of ramble.
Yeah.
I think we're going to rename it that.
Yeah.
No, that was viewer mail, sort of.
Oh yeah, definitely. Thank you for sending that comment in. And if anybody else got any feedback, we'll hit you with the deets here in a minute.
Yeah.
If you would like to get a hold of us, you can reach us at our email address, which is rollingbadpodcast@gmail.com. You can also visit our website at rollingbad.com. We have a Twitter account for the podcast, which is at rolling_bad. We also have a Facebook page. You can just search for Rolling Bad on Facebook. We each have an individual Twitter account. You can reach me at Elric Edge.
You can get me at Bill Castello, Castello.
And I'm at Tersoth.
You can also see our work, mostly James, at our Instagram page, Rolling Bad, all one word.
Try to record silence.
Oh, are you?
Mm-hmm.
Is that enough silence, Bill?
No. Yep, there's one. So I
could just picture the salon. I remember it being so much longer.
Okay, so my Troglodyte now has a new name. He is called Cialis.
Yeah.
I feel bad that I actually had a game and James didn't.
No, that's good.
Actually, I've been gloating for the past hour. Don't let me kid you.
What happened Friday? I thought you said you went out for sushi.
Yeah, we did.
Speaking of Bill's next game.
Wow. Now I feel James.
Coming all the way in January. Jeez.
Boy, he really got me that one. Holy crap.
Are we done with the ITC?
I believe so.
Ready to
I
talk
think
some
so.
BCR?
What are those?
LOL?
Yay, we got a blooper.
Yeah.